Okay, sure, let's get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Monet, and I'm one of the organizers of Write the Docs Phoenix. Our parent organization is called Write the Docs, of which we are a relatively new chapter. We formed in just April of this year. Write the Docs is a global community of people who care about documentation. And our chapter's mission is to help Arizona based technical communicators advance in their careers. And holding regular educational seminars like this one is one of the ways that we do that. You can find more information about us in our meetup page. Today's seminar is on the general concept of wikis and about the software called Confluence in particular. Rick Larsen is here to enlighten us on these topics. And Rick is a technical writer, editor, and content developer. He's built content pipelines and documentation sets for companies that you've heard of and companies you have not. He was a Confluence space administrator for 9 years, and he's also contributed to wikis in GitHub and Azure DevOps. Thank you, Rick, and over to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. What a great introduction. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit kind of high-level introduction to Confluence in particular, but also some of the general basics that all wikis have, what I think wikis are really good for, what maybe their other tools might be better for, some common workflows that people use when they work in wikis. We'll look at the Confluence interface and how you get around in it. Talk just for a second about pricing, and then we'll do a demo where I've got a kind of test site set up, and we'll look at some ways to manage your content through a wiki, how to update and create and delete and things like that. Add users, remove users, etc. So what is a wiki? It's a collaboratively edited web publication, usually dedicated to some kind of topic, a product, or an organization. So collaboratively edited um, is means that it's not just the work of one person. You usually have multiple people that have varying levels of access and ability to make edits and or request changes. It's also a type of content management system, so you can figure out all of our content relating to a certain topic, a certain team, a certain type of content can all be in here, and you can keep track of it, keep track of versions and changes over time. And so wiki documentation has some unique things about it that makes it different from a lot of other forms of documentation. So like a wiki tends to be more community driven. So I showed the screenshot for Wikipedia, which famously, theoretically, anyone can edit. Most of them are slightly more locked down in terms of who can go in and make changes, but there are definitely there's definitely the idea that the community, everybody is able to make some level of changes. It's a little bit less formal than a more traditional user manual or a publication that is kind of thought to be more of a one-way communication channel of I'm telling you this information for your benefit. This is more able uh, to be um, kind of a little more whatever you need it to be. So it's not quite as as formal, as rigid, but there are definitely templates and ways to impose order in ways that you need there to be order. Um, it's quicker to publication than a lot of other methods. Basically, you open up a page, you edit it, you hit save when you're ready, and it's live. They do have, Confluence does have a sense of drafts where you can save it, um, and but the visibility on that is a little limited. It gets hard to share a draft with someone else if you want to have it reviewed before you publish it. So um, it's kind of like once you're ready to go, you're ready to go. So I think it's really good for internal documentation. We'll look at when we look at templates, we'll see very good for meeting notes. Most of the time that I was running Confluence Spaces, that's what we kept in there was our meeting notes and our action items and agenda items and some level of here's some kind of quick content internally that like a developer might need to get something off the ground, have some code samples and things like that. But the actual kind of public facing documentation we typically did through a static site generator, which has similarly has a content set, pages, and um, tends to be a little more locked down as far as who the author is and who can make changes. So for a while on our static site documentation, all of the requests were going through me first to either make them myself or approve them and push them through. Um, and so it's more of a polished of like a product. It's your final end result. Here's a we were able to convert ours to PDFs and put it also push it out as a completed website, and it had that more finished quality, whereas a wiki tends to be more of a living document that 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 you that you publish on a date. And here's version 2 that and then version 3. Um, and there is some, as we'll see when we do the demo, there is some support for keeping track of change history in the wiki, but it's a little harder to draw a line in the sand and say this was, version 1 and this is version 2. Not impossible, just not as convenient. So who is using a wiki? Um, so basically, your readers can be anyone. You can lock it down to specific groups. We'll actually look at some permissions and see how granular Confluence can be with what you can see and what you can change. So it's really up to you or your organization. Who do you want to allow to read it? Um, and there's the sense of users tend to be those readers that have permission to go in and see. Sometimes they have permission to make comments. Sometimes they have permission to make edits. Um, so it could be your customers. Um, and Confluence does have a lot of footprint in the space of like development and engineers. And a lot of engineers are very comfortable using Confluence and prefer it over other, content management systems. But there's no reason, there's nothing inherently in Confluence that makes it have to be for these high tech audiences. And um, so you have the ability as an admin to get very fine grained with who has what access. And we'll have a slide a little bit here that goes into more detail on those access levels. So I'll talk a little bit um, the kind of the common workflows and the way that they work. So with Confluence, you have the concept of spaces, and spaces are basically individual wikis that you can um, put out for a designated purpose. So you could give a team a wiki, or a product group could have their own wiki. A very common one is, your staff members can have a content space where they can look up processes and procedures and things like that, and a second, more locked down space for managers, or even for upper management. And you can have as many of those as you need. And the spaces are potentially aware of each other and potentially um, hidden from each other. Um, so to kind of talk a little bit about the typical roles and responsibilities for managing them, you usually will designate some group of users. One of my Confluence spaces was completely open to the public. Probably did not have a lot of people who were very interested in this very niche topic, but anybody could go and look around and read it. Um, and you can also assign permissions by creating groups that, these are my employees. They all have read access by default. And then that enables them to see the wiki, to interact with the wiki, to leave comments, however you set it up. And then you can make smaller groups for the admins to be able to make changes. Um, Admins can also remove users. They can mess with the permissions, um, make changes, fine tune it. And then there are space admins. So you can set somebody up to be an admin just in particular a space or particular spaces, give them permission to add users from that space. But the other spaces that are owned by other teams, you can have them have their own permissions and their own roles. And then you probably have a smaller group of people who are what are they call Confluence admins, who basically are a step above that and can make changes to any of your spaces, can create spaces, can delete spaces, archive spaces. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. Um, you can kind of decide this space is, we want people to go to this new version. We're going to close this one down, but we don't want to lose all of this content. We're just going to archive it, and then only admins can find it and dig things out if they need to bring a page back or something. So this is an example of the kind of fine-grained nature of the permissions, and so you can um, turn these on or off for individuals, for groups, for applications. We'll talk a little bit about those as well in a minute. But um, so you have the capacity to view things. Um, you can let people add pages, but not delete pages. Um, and further down here, you have some people have the ability to delete pages that they make, but not delete other people's pages. Um, and so you, as an admin, have a lot of fine-grained control. Usually, you do this through the groups, and you give somebody a role, and that means they're in this group, and they can have a certain set of permissions. Um, it gets challenging. I know because we went through this. When you start uh, giving people very unique individual permissions, that then it's hard to replicate that when they move on and somebody else wants to take on some of their tasks. And we also wanted to talk about the idea of it's usually a good idea with content to have some kind of review process. You know, I was definitely used to that way of working, where my public facing documentation would go through a code review and have to be signed off before we could publish it. Wikis don't really have that idea. You just when you're done, you hit save and it's live. So what we've done in uh, roles where our wiki was our public documentation. Um, you review everything first, get it approved, then published, and then you kind of have, a limited time after that happens before anybody else sees it to just have someone double check and check for typos or uh, um, proofreading. And then um, or you have progressive reviews where somebody has the ability to edit pages, but they may not have the capacity, they may not have the permissions to create a new page or to delete a page, but they have the power to, okay, you spelled that word wrong, or the capitalization, things like that. Those are also a common way of working. And I'll show this in the demo space too, is you do have a version history. So if something does get pushed up that you're not happy with, it's pretty simple to go back and I like the way it was yesterday and change it back to that, and then decide if there are some changes that you want to keep or not. Um, you can, we used to do this with our product documentation wiki space. When a new major version was being released, we would clone the copy that we had all been working in, created a new one, called it version, 2.1, 2.2, and then archive the original one so that we had it stored and I could access it if there was something that needed to be checked. How did that used to work? What did that used to say? Um, and so how do what are some common workflows for if you want to, I'm a product manager, I want to get a page published. How do I do that? As far as that goes, the wiki itself um, is pretty agnostic for that. It is separate from your tracking page, your workflow management. Has a ton of um, integrations with Jira. So somebody has a request to create a space, create a page. That is kind of handled outside of the wiki workflow. Um, it's really up to the organization. We had a footer added to all of our pages where somebody could click and it would take them to the process to create a ticket and make a request. I need to update this page. This is spelled wrong. They also have um, when you are synced with a Jira instance, there's a functionality where you can right click on a page and it will give you the option to create a work item that will create a Jira ticket for somebody to work on. So that's another way you can, if you're not an editor, you can let somebody know that edits need to happen. Um, they But yeah, as far as the wiki knows, it only knows who's an editor and who is not. So we'll take a quick look at some things. Oh, I guess yeah, that section got shortened. I'll cover the interface mostly in the demo. So, but we're going to look at really quickly some of the options for what does it cost to have a a wiki. So the free level is very limited, but there are definitely small organizations, teams that might still get a lot of use out of a free page. That's what I'm going to show you as a free account today. Um, and we can look through there and see. I'll show you what if we had the enterprise. Most of my examples come from when I had an enterprise um, Confluence under my command. So I'll kind of show a few things that theoretically would be possible. There's also certain with these tiers, you get certain things like you start to be able to have guest access. You can have um, people not in your organization who can view um, and or edit. Well, view is pretty unlimited, but the actual um, the actual users is a little more. If people um, want to be able, if you want people to be able to edit. Okay, so yeah, I'll switch over in a second to my account. We'll look at how you add people to be able to make changes. We'll look at how you create a page. We'll look at editing a page. We'll look at deleting a page as well, or archiving it. How to add images, spreadsheets. There's a lot of integrations, and I think something I haven't even hit on yet that is something that makes Confluence stand out compared to some other wikis is a marketplace for apps and plugins that is pretty um, robust. There's a lot of things that you can add to your Confluence to make it do exactly what you want to, and then some version history, and then we'll take a time to if anybody has any questions or anything they want to see demonstrated, I can walk through and take a look at those also. And we'll come back to this slide um, later. Okay. And I was testing some things right before we started. So let me come here to my demo page. Were there any questions yet? Anybody?
I guess, Rick, my question would be
Yeah.
how do customers access this? If you have external customers, do they have to go through Confluence or does it generate HTML or
That's a great question. So they would go directly to your Confluence site. So the free version usually would have this your your site name at .atlassian.net, and then yeah, they go to the same pages that you are on when you edit. So there isn't like a publication pipeline. And then in the higher tiers, you can obviously um, set up a redirect and have a domain name that would take people to the site. But
okay? Thank you.
yeah, yep. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so yeah. So I have a couple of spaces set up. So in my personal space, I have the um, kind of the outline of all the points that I wanted to hit. But so that's another thing too, is you by default, your users will get a personal space where they can create their own pages that only they see. And so it's a good kind of sandbox while you're testing these things out to be able to try things, see how it looks, move that page into one of the public spaces. So the other space that I set up was this one called product management. And you start off with this kind of generic template that normally you would just replace immediately with what you want. But I kept it on here because I wanted to show you some of they wanted to kind of show off some of the things that's there. So you have templates that come out of the box. You can also create your own if you know your meeting agendas look the same every week, or your so as a product management template space, I got a requirements template page and a roadmap template. And so there's these filters. If nothing else, the one trick that I want everybody to learn from this demo is when you are an editor, you'll have an edit button up here. I think my thing is blocking it. But you just, nope, I'm not an editor on this page.
There's a little square with a pencil on it. That's what you're looking for.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, my trick that I was real proud to show off didn't work. So let me try it again. It might be because I'm doing screen share, but normally on any Confluence page that you have edit access to, if you just hit E, there you go. Yeah, it goes in. Maybe I hit the wrong button. It goes straight into edit mode, and so you have all of these little widgets to create tables, import roadmaps and other contents, blog posts, and you have a formatter up here as well, but you also have come back to this page that I feel comfortable destroying. You can, as you're typing, work directly in Markdown. For the most part, the table function I found it's just easier to come up to the add a table, but you can bold things. And so if you are used to working in Markdown, they don't have a dedicated switch the view to see a Markdown view, but you have the ability to do that as you're working. And it does auto save your progress. That's new from the last time I had a Confluence space, because I know that I lost work more than once. But yeah, so in this space, you can come over here to see all of the content. It'll give you a table of contents. You can drag things up and down and move them around. And when you go to create a page, you can also, let's see, maybe I missed a step. Did it earlier. But yeah, you can apply these templates to your page and get a new page. So back over here in the title. In the product management space, I created some team meeting pages. Oh, maybe they're in my personal space. Oh yeah, working in the wrong spot. But yeah, you can. So create these. And so this is a very common use case for this, for Confluence in general. Even if your, public documentation gets pushed out some other way, there's a lot of tools in here for tracking discussions, decisions, things like that. Very helpful. So creating a new space gives you some templates for what kind of space it's going to be. So you have a knowledge base. The collaboration is, like I said, more for the meeting notes and things like that. And you have a completely custom start me from scratch space. Let's make a knowledge base. Decide, and we don't need blogs, but we want whiteboards. Now, yeah. I got my tip to press. Always press E. And so you have a search functionality also that can limit it just to that space. So if you and you also will only, even if you search the global search up here, you'll still only see the spaces that you have access to. So you won't find pages that you can't view. And so then, yeah, because we did a knowledge base for this one, we have a different template set and a different set of pages to start with. Go back to my demo page and try to remember where I was. Oh, configure a space. I think we were looking at some of that. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's what I meant by this. So within the space, when you are an admin, you'll have this view where you can see the space settings. And so most of these things are changeable, and you can here's archive the space, get rid of it entirely. Export the space is something that we used to do until we figured out a better way to do it, but you can basically have it published as a Word document or a PDF if you need to. I haven't done one on this new layout, so I don't know. I know back in 2019 or so, the PDFs were not beautiful, but very functional. So here's where you can give your users access at different levels. On this particular space, I don't have the paid account to be able to tweak these, but you can decide people in this group can add pages, but they can add them and archive them, but not delete them, or things of that nature. And actually, here's the groups. You get a couple of groups by default. You can define more and give them groups, and then you can add guest users on the page. And then here is the thing that you do need. I did forget this detail because I think this is new, that this free account um, can't be shared publicly. But if you, on even the lowest tier, you can push it out and then, it can be your public facing documentation. You can come this way to, if you want to reorder pages. You can also drag them and drop them in the regular section, but here's a way to see it all and get a little more granular control if you want to reorder pages. You can make things hidden if you want to hide pages. Yeah, and if you are moving things around and deleting pages, this was actually an important page that I did not set up a demo for, but sometimes you move a page and then its parent, it has children pages below it. And you can end up with these orphan pages that are hidden. And so there's no way to get to it without searching and directly linking to it. So it's a good thing to check sometimes to see if you have any pages that are inaccessible. This will tell you if you have created a link to a page and that page does not yet exist. Happens sometimes, or a page gets renamed. And I've in other wikis, like I said, I've done GitHub and I've done Azure DevOps. They don't, at least not at my access level, did not have a way to look those up. So you rename a page, the link to it now breaks, and it's nice to have a report. If you have a space that has a lot of images, you can come in here and see what pages you've got. Like I said, you can add spreadsheets, you can add text files. There's lots of other things that you can add.
Rick, can I ask you a question?
Of course, of course.
So I work in Confluence and I'm fairly new to it.
Sure.
One thing I wasn't able to make happen is insert an image to where I could just replace the image and the image would automatically update. Do you know of a way to do that?
Let me see if I have the question right. So, like, you've got an image that you want to swap out for another one, like the screenshot gets updated.
Yeah, so like if you were working in Markdown, you would mark image
Yeah,
abc.jpg, and then you'd have that file in your repository. When you go
right.
replace that file, that image automatically updates. But in Confluence, I've found that I have to replace the whole image, which erases my alt tags and erases
Oh,
the caption
yeah.
and everything.
That is an excellent question. Because I know I have done that exact thing in Markdown as well. Um, let's take a look because I think it has to do with the way that the images get stored on that page that we were just on. Let's see. Okay. Oh, here we go. Let's see. This may be because I know that in the DevOps wiki that I'm using right now, because I've had this exact thing come up. The when you upload it, it actually, so you call it, image ABC, but the wiki behind the scenes will give it that doesn't seem to be the case though. We'll give it like a hash, a big 16-digit number. So I uploaded image ABC and it changed it to image ABC dash, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't see option in here, and it may be tied to the level of account that I have. A way to, like, you can look at them, and clicking it just downloads it. That's not really what we want to do. I was hoping there was an edit button or an upload. But, okay, let's go back. Here. I have to admit, I think you may have stumped me. This template is a little heavy duty for me at the moment. Let's go to we'll make a new page. Let's see. So it seems to be a pretty safe image. Okay. Publish that page. Content, attachments. Yeah, do you have access to the space settings? That's where I would expect to be able to rename it. And I was surprised that there's not an upgrade right here. But I think that might be a factor of me being on a free tier.
Yeah, I've never seen this attachments page before, so I'm gonna go check that out tomorrow.
Okay,
So you gave
yeah,
me a new idea, so thank you.
No, because I know you can also, at least within the same space, like I think these attachments are specific to the space, but I believe, I know in Markdown 2, you can, as long as you have the image once in the repository, you can reference it as many times as you want. And I think Confluence does treat them slightly differently. Yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. And if you find out, please let me know.
Will do.
Okay. So yeah, the big one also, that the thing that makes me want to recommend Confluence if you're using a wiki is this last part, which is oh, actually, while we're on a page, let's take a look at one thing that I had out of order, because I think we would like to see this too. Is I alluded earlier to version history, and I haven't actually edited this page yet, so I think I was intending to use a different one. So let's do it. We can change something, update it. Now the page is up to date. And you can see, so you can go back, you can actually select two and compare them. Very useful if you've got multiple people editing, because the other thing that you'll see happens is, oh, okay. Actually, that's fine. I prefer this. I thought it would change the this is actually the owner. My DevOps wikis just tells you who the last person to edit it was, and we make a lot of changes at the request of someone else, and then people see an email that they can click on, and they ask me about the content when all I did was, change some capitalization. But I wanted to talk about apps really quickly. And the marketplace, as far as I can tell, they are limiting me on my free account to free apps, which is great. But just about any tool that you want to use will have an app that you import, configure for your space, and then you can you can bring in GitHub pages, you can bring in GitHub gists. There is a way to just have a markdown repository imported directly into Confluence. Does anybody have any products they want to see if there's an app for?
What apps have you used in the past, Rick?
So a lot of the Jira integrations have been moved into the product itself, but once upon a time we had extensions for adding Jira queries. So you could have, like, these are open bugs, these are closed in this sprint kind of bugs. We used a lot of those to kind of move back and forth. And there was a couple of let's see. There is a default calendar, but there are his Outlook you can have syncing to your Jira, to your Confluence. And so you have a high level of customizability. Monday.com. Let's see, this one is probably, here we go. So yeah, I found one that actually costs money. So, but it'll tell you what the pricing scheme is, how to set it up. These, for the most part, the marketplace is fairly open. So, but overall, they're pretty consistently well done as far as having setup instructions and telling you how to use them.
And
think
I'll just point out in my own experience that they're not limited to other products. So, for example, I was trying to figure out a way to uh, have a table on one page be a source for a table on another page because it's a different audience, but it's the same table. And
okay.
there's an app called Excerpt, Excerpt, where you can tag one to be
Oh,
the, the source, and then you can call it from the other one. And then there's
okay.
also a search. There's a couple of different search functions. So if you
Mhm.
look in the Confluence page, at the top where it says search. So in my organization, we've got that's very top, not in the apps, but in your
Over
space,
here.
for example.
Okay.
Um, is this your space? I guess it is. Like if I type in fraud, I see all of our Jira tickets. I see every Confluence space, not just my space, and I also see
Mhm.
Bitbucket information, which is our GitHub repository. So it's
Oh, okay.
thousands and thousands of results, and all I want to do is search the 10 pages that are in my space. So there's a app that you can use that you put a search window inside your page, and then it'll only search the children pages.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I do remember, yeah, now that you mentioned that yeah, as I thought about going into includes and I forgot that I think that was a plugin back in the day, but we did that a lot for kind of boilerplate text and things like that. That might be a, workaround for the image replacement because you can
Oh, yeah.
do,
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, you can do a partial page and just include that page,
Hmm.
do the excerpt and include that for images. I know it's an extra step, but um, working in Markdown so much, there's always an extra step to take. If and maybe there's a threshold for that too. Like if you use an image twice, it's not necessarily worth it, but if you're using it 5 or 10 times, then the excerpt might be a good workaround.
Have more seminars planned for the future. I think Lou's shared about one. Our next one will be AI in the workplace, sorting hype from reality on September 4th. I keep tuned to our meetup channel. And we also host a monthly in-person meetup for those of us in or near the Valley. So again, those will be posted to the meetup site. Good to see everybody. Hope to see you soon.